Hello there, dear YouTubers or dear Colorless King website, colorlessking.info website visitors. My name is Mr. Colorless King, and today I will be talking about the second dimension, not second, the third dimension of the CKDM model. So without further ado, let's get started. So today you will learn a lot of information stuff. Okay, so I have actually made four models to understand what this 3D concept really is. Okay, so first thing I will start with is I have pasted my paper here, and I will first of all read the paper to you and then explain it to you. And in case if you're wondering what the CKDM is, go to my YouTube channel, KING1993 Gaming. Go to my playlist, and then you will eventually find there. Start with negative 4D and then go up to positive 2D. Okay, so here's the thing. So today's topic will be a 3D object. Okay, according to the Euclid. Okay, let's see. According to Euclid, Euclid, a three dimension is something like this. Let's say I am making a cube. Okay, so once I have made the cube, the question remains is, what is this? This is a Euclid dimension of 3D. Euclid dimension of 3D. So in the Euclid 3D dimension, there is going to be up, down, right, left, and back, and front. There will be six part. So according to the reality, okay, we have two ways of knowing if an object is real or not. Okay, so think of it like this. This is a Rubik's cube. It has shadow, it has a parallax effect, like a left eye versus right eye compare, and we can actually see that this object is a little bit further away than compared to this one, something like this. So there are multiple ways to understand how the reality work. Okay, and which part of the reality is 3D or not. So how can we measure this? Okay, so I have written a topic about this, so read the topic here. In Euclidean geometry, volume is not just a collection of flat faces of a spatial closure. It is an area bounded in 3D space. While mathematics uses formula like volume is equal to length multiplied by width multiplied by height to measure this, our actual understandings comes from lived experience interaction with the object. So when I said about this, let's say this is a 3D object, which it is. With the human eye, at a time we can see up to three sides: top, right, and left. But we can only see the frontal side, not the back side. So in the back side, there is bottom and back right side and back left side. We cannot see that. We can only see the frontal. We cannot see anything in between also. So there are visual cues. Visual cues are basically like one object blocking another, parallax effect, color, binocular vision, and many other mental images. Okay, so let me give you an example. See this. This is a stair, and this is a stair, and this is a stair. We can definitely see this stair where we can put the character feet is going to look very normal, but there it is looking a little bit smaller, and those look even smaller. But as we go near them, okay, we will see that the stair are going to be as similar as here. Okay, so this is one of the effect. Look at the shadow. By looking at the angle of the shadow, we can expect where the light is coming from, and same with this one here. And we can definitely see by the height that this person is longer than this one. So there are many ways which we are able to know if an object is 3D or not just by looking at them. But for blind people, they need a different method. They need something which has bumping capability, like brailles. Okay, brailles is a writing system. So let me show you braille. 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 So braille are basically letters type which indicate how many dot there are available. Each dot represent of what type of letter might be available there. Okay, something like this. And these are the thing that the human hand actually uses to read them. Now according to my CKDM model, there are two type of physics, and let's talk about the two type of physics in the CKDM. One is classical physics. Classical physics fall into the category of human intuition. Okay, human intuition. Human intuition is like up to 40. Okay, up to 40 millimeter. Like human being have the ability to look at a very small object up to 40 40 millimeter. Yeah, have the ability to see, hold the object. Okay, hold the object and feel the bump up to 40 millimeter. But when it comes to the human eye, it can only see about up to 10 micrometer. I think there was a certain limit. uh, human eye human eye max uh, max seeing range range. So max seeing small small object. Like what is the max range we can see? Okay, it is up to zero point 0.1 millimeter. So we human being can see up to 0.1 millimeter, but afterward we cannot see anything. So in that case we need something else. Okay, what do we need? We need specialized material, and the specialized material that we need are going to be the following. Okay, what are those following things? Such as we need a machine. So we need a machine to detect what there is, otherwise we cannot detect them, something like that. Okay, so when we say that the classical physics is basically being able to see and have an intuition of the reality using classical math, that is a very good thing. But when we say that quantum physics is like very weird, the concept of quantum physics is very weird. It's not because quantum physics itself is weird. Rather, quantum physics is weird because quantum physics is something we can not see, something we cannot see. Okay, so this is what? This is quantum physics. And when we cannot see something, we will not have what? No, we will have no intuition. If we do not have any intuition, then what will happen? We will make probability math. And this is exactly how quantum physics today is not about machine detectable physics. Okay, it's not machine detectable physics. Rather, quantum physics today is considered as quantum physics is considered as math probability physics. So if quantum physics becomes math probability physics, then what will happen is the concept of intuition will be lost. And because of this reason, I am trying to give you guys a perspective of what might be happening in 3D. So because of that exact reason, I will talk about the Euclidean boundary and clock time. Okay, now in order to understand the Euclidean thing and clock time, so we must need to understand this. Okay, so we human beings say, not me, like scientists say, then that space and time are the same. How? Let's say there is a clock, and a child and a bus must meet each other at 6 o'clock. Okay, so let's say the bus has a lot more speed and the child has a lot less speed, so minus speed and plus speed. Okay, so what will happen is the bus will arrive here sooner than this child. So what the child must need to do, the child, in order to respect the time, must need to be arrived at the bus at a sooner interval than the bus itself. Okay, so the bus must need to arrive at its own speed, but the child must need to arrive at that 6 a.m. or p.m. a little bit sooner, otherwise this child is going to miss the bus. So people will say, I think Neil Armstrong, okay, Neil degrees Tyson, yeah, Neil degrees Tyson. He says that space and time are basically bound together. Okay, space and time are basically bound together. As a result, space time happens. Okay, so the question is, okay, how? And the analogy that he gave was the bust and the child analogy. Okay, I call this bullshit. Okay, why do I call this bullshit? So in order to understand that, let's say this is a earth. What is an earth? Okay, an earth is a round object, right? So if the earth is a round object which has 360-degree, and a clock also is a round object which is 360-degree. Now if I put this here, okay, if I put this clock here, and this is what, this is considered as the clock, this is considered as the clock, and this is considered the clock time, and this is considered the earth angle. Okay, since both of them are what, circular, both of them are what, CIRCLA, since both of them are circular, it means we can make an intuition model. Okay, how? If we can estimate how much time is passing at every rotation of the earth, we can guess a proper idea. So let's say how fast the earth, earth spins per second. Okay, the earth spins at a speed of 465 meters per second. Okay, or 1670 kilometer per hour. So what does this mean? It means that if the earth can spin about 1000, sorry, not 1000, 458 or 65, 465 meter per second, then the amount of rotation we can make is going to be able to give us of how much rotation happens at how many uh, second, or at how many distance, many other stuff. Okay, so this is where I actually made this thing. So let's say uh, I am going to have a birthday celebration of my friend who is going to be have a birthday on let's say February, uh, let's say February 7. So January, okay, so January has 31 days. January has 31 days plus another 7, okay, which is going to be 38. So when the earth is going to rotate about 38 times, then I will be able to say that the earth has spent about 38 times. Now today is going to be the what, my friend's birthday, and based on that, once this hits 37, I'm going to stop and then continue again. Let's see, it is now about a little bit faster than 1 second. Okay, now once this red line crosses here, and then we can finally say the next day has started 38, and now today is going to be the what, birthday of my friend. So this is something like that. So in this case, what is happening? The earth is rotating, right? The earth is a 3D object, it rotates. Okay, good. But we have never asked the question, okay, what type of question? If the earth is, let's say, continuously rotating, what is causing the earth to rotate? Okay, what is causing the earth to rotate? So people will say uh, gravity is causing the earth to rotate. Okay, then my question is, what is gravity? This is where majority people are going to say, it's a force. Okay, it's a force. May the force be with you in the Star Wars. Those type of memes. Okay, they are gonna say that. Okay, but what if I say force is what? People are gonna say force is space time. Okay, according to Einstein, force is space time, and when the space time bends, atom bends in those direction. Okay, let me explain it again. Einstein says that when space and time bends, then the earth rotates. This is what Einstein is saying. And Einstein is saying that earth is rotating because space and time has been what? Bending. This is not true. This is not true. Okay, then which part is true? Okay, if I were to talk about Curie temperature, many people are not going to be able to understand what is a Curie temperature. Okay, so let me give you an understanding. Curie temperature. So Curie temperature is basically a temperature threshold where every object is going to lose their magnetism. Okay, what is Curie temperature? Curie temperature, metal. Okay, Curie temperature, uh, magnet. Okay, okay, let me show it to you eventually. There is a YouTube video. Okay, here it is. So this is a YouTube video, and YouTuber actually made this where she actually placed a magnet here and then heated the magnet, and the magnet lost its magnetic capacity at the 770 degrees Celsius. So this was the magnet, but what was the magnet holding? Iron. So there is a Curie temperature chart. Curie temperature wiki. So if we go to the Curie temperature chart, you will see that different atom, I will start with the Celsius. Okay, different atoms has different temperature threshold. So it was an iron, and the iron has a temperature of 770 degrees Celsius, after which the atom loses its ability to maintain magnetism, and as a result people say this is magnetic flipping. Actually, no, this is not magnetic fucking flipping. This is something else. Okay, so what is happening? This metal is a 3D object, right? What is happening? What is happening is, as the this is a model diagram that I have made. Okay, what is this? This is something like, let's say this is a metal holder to make sure that this round metal actually doesn't get attached to the magnet. Okay, and the metal is moving. Okay, why is the metal moving? Because we know what we know, that the temperature, when the temperature increases, magnetism decreases, right? So when the object, if it is a round metal, and then I apply heat on the top, okay, then the top part of the magnet becomes what? Less reactive to the magnet, and then what will happen? It will lose its magnetism. But at the bottom I will apply cold here. Okay, so when I apply the cold to this metal, then what will happen? This cold part is going to maintain a lot more magnetism, and eventually this part will go up to the magnet, and the part of the metal which was heated is going to get uh, little bit moved. Okay, so this is why I made a slider to give you guys an idea. The more heat that is going to be produced by the heat applying devices on the metal itself, the more the metal on the top is continuously going to lose what? Magnetic attraction. And then the more cold I apply at the bottom is going to maintain what? More magnetic strength. And then at the end of the day, what will happen is the metal will constantly move like this. Okay, so the question is, when we talk about the earth rotating, the question is, why is the earth rotating? Okay, so this is going to be the main question, because at the end of the day, if we say that the earth is rotating around the sun because space and time are bending, then we must need to way to understand what is this saying. This is saying that it is an effect of space and time, not the atom, not the atom. But I am saying mechanical wise that this is a bullshit math by Einstein. Okay. Now, why am I saying this? I am saying this from the point of Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla said that Einstein math is a mathematical garbage uh, written beautifully. Okay. So Nikola Tesla said that Einstein relativity math is basically a magnificent garbage written beautifully. So it means that Nikola Tesla never actually liked Einstein or his mathematical equation, because what we know about reality is we must need to have what, a classical intuition, which is going to be a lot more important than to say have a mathematical details of Lorentz transformation, where Lorentz transformation was basically saying maybe he says Lorentz said that maybe space and time are bending. That is why the speed of light remains the same for all observer. Okay. But what if I say that the speed of, okay, speed of light remains the same for all observer, is because the speed of light is instantaneous. If I say this is not incorrect. Okay. Because if we say, but we have measured the speed of light is c, speed of light is equivalent to c, then the question is, how was the c measured? The the speed of light c was measured by uh, Michael A. Albertson or something like that, or Albert A. Michelson, something like that. I forgot his name. What he did, he took a measurement device and an emission device and measured it while rotating with multiple stuff. There were mirror, there were rotation, and see how many times it was rotating, or something like this. Okay. So with a calculation, he saw that the speed of light was approximately about 300,000 kilometer per second. So this is what he came out with. Okay. So this is what Michael A. Albertson says. So when I say that the Curie temperature, just how it is moving the metal like this, the same thing also happens with the sun. Like we say, sorry, the earth. So we say that the earth is moving due to the Curie effect of the metal, because once the one side is getting heated, it will move away, and the side of the earth that is getting cold is gonna get attracted to the what, magnet, and then once the heat is getting applied again to the magnet, it will basically move back again. So the reason I think, okay, that the earth is spinning around the sun is because maybe the earth is being held by the sun, and the reason the earth is moving like this is because when the sun is hitting the part of the earth that is causing it to get heated up, it is causing the earth to move, and eventually it is happening in the classical physics manner, which is why the uh, topic is almost constant, and this is the exactly the reason why Newtonian mechanic works, is because Newtonian mechanic was a classical mechanic. Whereas Einstein basically tried to use classical mechanic with a little bit of unclassical mechanic, which is something like when Lorentz said that space and time bends to make the speed of light the same for all observer. This alone, that the speed of light becomes the same for all observer, in itself is a hypothesis. And Einstein, okay, when Einstein got fed up, not fed up, like extremely hyper, what should I call it, engaged in this topic, that the speed of light is the same for all observer, that is why space-time is happening. This is exactly where the space-time model came from, and this is the model that we should hit, because it is a hypothesis, and this hypothesis has been turned into a math. And people are going to say, what about the atomic clock, and what about the uh, satellite? They show time dilation with gravity and velocity. Then why are we not taking that into account? Those are physical reasons of the atom, which I will explain in my 4D of why. So what is my quantum 3D? So my quantum 3D is to understand if the object called the Curie temperature is moving, why is it moving this way? We must need to understand, and that is the metal is moving this way because heat is applied in one place. Let's say this is the sun and the magnet, okay, and what it will do, it will attract the metal. But if it gets too hot by the sun, where I will artificially apply heat to the metal, then the metal will lose its magnetic capability here. And where I am applying the cold area is gonna get cold, and then it will get attracted by the metal. Okay, the very good example is magnet. Oh, sorry, the magnetic characteristics of the oxygen. So oxygen, especially in liquid form, which is extremely cold, liquid oxygen is what? Magnetic. But non-liquid, or let's say non gas gas oxygen, gas oxygen is uh, opposite of magnetism is less magnetism or diamagnetism. Let's say diamagnetism, right? uh, uh, Diamagnetism. Okay, diamagnetism is repelling. Okay, so in gas form, oxygen is basically what? It is a diamagnetic. So at liquid temperature, at liquid oxygen is extremely cold, which is why it is magnetic, and when it come into a gaseous form, it becomes diamagnetic. Why this happens? My positive 12 and 13D will explain this. It is something that has to do with vibrational energy and another type of energy that is not negative energy, but it is something that I cannot use the term negative because it was taken by Paul Dirac, and if I use the term negative energy, it is gonna cause a lot more confusion. So I will not say negative energy, rather I'm going to say two type of energy: vibrational energy and non-vibrational energy. These are the two things that determines how quantum effect happens, but that will be another video in another day. Okay. So we can at least finally get an intuition of why the earth is actually moving the way it is moving, the why is it continuously rotating like this, and how we actually say space and time. When we say space and time, we must also need to understand that people who are basically, let's say, living on the opposite side of the sun, okay, in this area here, what will happen? It will be nighttime and they need to sleep, and during the daytime they will wake up and do their work. Okay, but if the question is asked, if the daytime of 1 o'clock in Newark, is it the same as 1 o'clock in Japan? Obviously not, because if we look at the shadow and if we look at the light, then we can definitely see if New York is at 1 and on the opposite is going to be Tokyo, then Tokyo is constantly moving on opposite compared to 1, which, okay, 13, 13. Tokyo is in 13. Then if New York is in 1 and Tokyo is in 13, then if they continuously move at a different location, okay, not difference in time but difference in location, then obviously they are not gonna get sun and they need to rest during the night, okay, because cold temperatures gives us a proper sleep due to hormonal changes. But when we compare the earth rotation with the time, we are seeing what? We are seeing a correlation effect. Like the correlation effect is when something is round, okay, the earth is round and the clock is round, and then we made a measurement of 24 hours, 24 hour multiplied by 60 minutes, multiply by 60 second, then obviously whatever the second is going to become, which is going to be, let's say, 24 into 60 into 60, so 8 86400. This is the amount of second we get per day. Now if we compare the speed of the earth, which is about 465 meters per second, then if we do the calculation, we will be able to know why we are getting a correlation effect of the earth and the clock. This is the clock and this is the earth, because both of them are what? 360 degree, okay, both of them are 360 degree, and because of this reason we compare the clock with the sun to say what time is it and what time we are going to work. Why 1 hour, uh, let's say why 1 o'clock in New York is not going to be the same as 1 o'clock on Japan, because they are in different place of the earth, so they are not gonna be ever be feeling same type of correlation effect, because they live in completely different space, so they will have different effect, night and day, cold and heat, busy and quiet. Okay, we can now get the idea. So based on that we can finally say that, okay, we can now understand that the sun is actually holding the earth, and the sun is also causing the earth to spin less. Now the reason I have put a slider here is because different planet moves at a different rate, okay. For example, if we look at the rotation rate of each planet, rotation rate of the planets near the sun, okay, so the rotation rate of the sun, of the planet near the sun, are going to be different. Okay, so let me write it here. Rotation rate of all 8 planets near the sun. So what NETS, planets near the sun. So what will happen is it will basically show me a chart of how different planet is moving at different speed. So if we say which planet has the highest amount of day in terms of moving, okay, then the one that will basically show up is Venus. Now we must need to know what Venus is made of. Venus, okay, so this is the question. Why? Because material composition matters. So I have written here what? I have written here metal, but I have not included what metal it is. I have only included metal. And the reason I did this is because if the composition of the metal is going to be different, then obviously the rotation of the metal here is going to be different also. So if we say, okay, Venus has a very slow movement, then maybe the material composition of Venus is not going to be the same as the material composition of Earth, and is not going to be the same as the material composition of the planet which has the highest amount of speed, which is basically Jupiter. The Jupiter has a rotation of 9 hour and 55 minutes. Okay, so if the question is if Jupiter, is it actually true or is it hallucinating? Okay, it is not hallucinating. So if the Jupiter has the fastest movement speed, then the question is why is it moving faster than rest of the other planet? Okay, and why is Neptune, even though it is the furthest away, has the lowest? Because of what? Material composition. So if we ask what is Venus mostly made of, okay, Venus is often called the twin planet because due to similar in size, but it has its own, is similar to our own. It is a terrestrial rocky planet composed of many metallic core. Okay, so uh, okay, Venus versus Earth material chart. Okay, now if we ask about the chart, okay, it will basically show how each of the planet will have different type of material. Okay, now I need to write here in percentage chart, in percentage of DIFFERENT different metals. Okay, I have written the thing again. Okay, here is the thing. So iron, Venus has 31.1%. Oxygen about similar, silicon about 16.2, magnesium is 14.5, nickel is about this one, and aluminium about similar. They are almost similar, but I think there is a difference, but otherwise material composition matters. This is what I am saying. I'm saying that material composition matters. If the material is going to be something that is mostly gaseous, then obviously it will have more rotational speed than compared to the rest of the other planet. And this is exactly what happened to Jupiter, because if we actually look at the composition of the Jupiter itself, then we will definitely see that Jupiter has a lot more what? Gas. And if Jupiter has a lot more gas than any other type of metal type, then obviously Jupiter is basically like doing what? It is doing the Curie temperature colorless king model flipping a lot more than rest of the other. Okay, Curie temperature. This is a stupid name I have just come out with. That Curie temperature is the actual method by which a, a certain temperature later different metal loses their magnetic field. So when I added colorless king, it is basically my idea that if we can apply heat and apply cold in this manner, cold from the bottom and heat from the top, then this top magnet is going to be wherever it is, but the metal will basically become a motor on its own. So based on that, we can definitely say that each of the planet has their own speed of rotation, is because the composition of the planet itself is different, and because the composition of the planet itself is different, the more it will move in a different manner. Okay, so in that regard, the question is Venus is also in retrograde. Retrograde, like as in moving in opposite direction compared to the rest of the other planet. Uranus also fall into the same category, but I'm not gonna talk about why they are retrograding. They are retrograding by let's say accident. Okay, but the composition matters. This is what I'm saying. For example, Neptune is okay, Jupiter, and which another one? This one, Saturn. Both of these two has large quantity of gas inside them. Okay, and because both of these two planet, Saturn and Jupiter, has large quantity of gas inside them, they are moving, are rotating the fastest in the solar system. Okay, so based on that, I will say I think I have able to talk about the temperature, the space-time model, why the space-time model itself is incorrect because of the Lorentz transformation assumption hypothesis, and why the Curie temperature is actually the main method of why the Earth is moving around the sun the way it is moving, and why relativity the way it talks that they must need to be almost in similar speed and something like that, not even similar speed, like relativity basically talks about how there is no such thing as now, there is always a relative to the him or her. This is basically I called almost truth, but not in the truth as in Einstein is speaking. I am saying that the main power of the rotation is because of the atomic material, and Einstein is saying is the main composition of the rotation of the planet is due to space time. This is where I am saying that Einstein is saying that space and time is bending due to Lorentz transformation, and I am saying that the earth is moving around the sun because of the characteristics of the atomic material itself. Okay, so in my case, what is 3D? 3D is basically like a fermionic recompositioning alliance. Okay, so what does that mean? These two will be able to explain that. Okay, so let's start. uh, Yesterday I had an argument with argument, like argument for the sake of this video, that type of argument. Light intensity. So I had an argument with Gemini to say, okay, am I right or someone else is right? This is that topic. Okay, so first of all, what I did, I asked the question, why light spreads in the inverse square law? Because it says it is because of geometry. Okay, it is because of geometry. So here's the thing, the planet rotates around the sun, right? Why is it happening? It is happening because of geometry. No, it is not happening because geometry. I said it is due to Curie temperature, which is part of what? Curie temperature is part of actually quantum mechanics, because of magnetism, electromagnetism, this and that, etc. Okay, if Einstein is correct, then it means that this is moving is because of space time, but I am saying that is not true. And space time is related to what? Space time, okay, not that, not that. Space and time is related to what? Geometry. So the geometry of the reality causes space time to bend, and space time bending causes the earth to spiral around the sun. And this is according to Einstein, but I am saying that the characteristics of the atom is more important. And this is why I then asked, like, is it due to relativity that the inverse square law is happening? I know it is not true, but I'm just asking. It gave me a lot of nonsense. And then I say, read this paper that I have made. Okay, not negative 2D, it is positive 2D. I forgot to write it properly, and uh, by uh, by mistake I have actually written the wrong name, so it is my fault. It is not negative 2D, actually it is plus 2D. Okay, so where is it? Okay, here it is. It is plus 2D, not negative 2D. Yeah, this is plus 2D. So that is a plus model. I am extremely sorry about that. That is plus model. So I gave it to this, and then it says it that says then it says is a lot of stuff, and I said, is it right or wrong? It said that according to my model, this is largely correct. Okay, and flipping of the poles in the atoms as the atom is going through the light, and then they get charged and they attract some atoms and then they flip away other atoms, this and that, etc. And then eventually it says a lot more. I said, what do you think? It didn't give me a correct answer, and then I said, so is it theoretically wrong or is it mechanically wrong? What is it saying? And then eventually I gave instruction to read the characteristics of the electron. If you want to know the characteristics of the electron, please go and read the positive two-dimension video here. And then afterward, I said here, imagine you lowered the geometry of the light hole or the hole of the light torch, but instead it gets the atom near the torch more heated. And we know entropy is real. The more concentrated the energy coming out from the torch, the more heating. And what do you know about heat? It makes the air molecules get apart away from each other. Okay, why does it causes the air molecule to get apart from each other? So let's say this is a torch. Okay, this is a torch. Okay, and it is spreading light in all direction. There are gas molecules here. Okay, gas molecules, and then the gas molecules will gain a little bit energy, that they will move away slowly, slowly and slowly, in something like that. But what will happen if I concentrate the energy, and then what will happen in this case, where the amount of light is basically the same, but I basically change the lens, not lens, let's say I change the holder. So the holder was like this. Now I have decreased the size of the holder. Now any atom that is going to be within this area is gonna get heated a lot more faster than the light when it was in this place here. So if we compare to the amount of area the light was spreading compared to now the light the way it is right now, obviously what will happen, the atom are going to get what more, like a lot more heated. If the amounts of atom, gaseous atom or dust atoms, whatever it is gonna get a lot more heated, what are they gonna do? They are gonna spread outside. Okay, and as the atoms spread outside, this spread these atoms are gonna do what? They are gonna move away, either this direction or this direction. So if the atoms are gonna move in opposite direction because the amount of heat has increased, then what will happen? Atoms contain what? Atoms contain characteristics, and when the atom gains electrons from this torchlight, then what will happen? They are gonna get a lot more excited if the field of the torchlight is narrow, and because it is narrow, the atom are gonna get a lot more heated. So the question is, when I say that the speed of light is not the main topic, the main topic is the geometry of the light. So how can we lower the geometry of the light? Okay, so is this one true? This one is actually not true. This is a bug. I am sorry about that. Okay, up to this is true. So if the light was in this place and then it becomes as small as this one, then what will happen is the max heat, okay, heat intensity at source is 2.5, okay, 0.25. But as I lower the geometry of the torchlight, what will happen is the atom within this area are gonna get a lot more heated. So the question is, in this case, is the geometry causes the inverse square law, or is it the inverse square law happening because the atom are getting more excited? This is the important part. Okay, because according to my conversation, what I have, this is a mechanical problem. Okay, so here it is, the geometry hole and the concentration. When you use a lens geometry hole to force light into a tight beam, you are defying the natural spreading. According to your logic, you are forcing massive amount of resonance energy into a tiny physical space. This much is true. This creates a high pressure zone of energy near the torch exit. Okay, as you sorry heat as atomic expansion entropy. As you noted, concentrated energy leads to heat. In a mechanical model, heat is a physical vibration of movement of atom. The atom near the torch gets more heated, meaning they begin to vibrate violently and push away from each other, increasing entropy. Because air molecules are getting more apart, they are physically creating a path of expansion. So, because because air molecules can easily get energized, they are going to do what? If there is one atom here and one atom there, and if both of them are getting energized, then they are going to go in opposite direction very fast. 1 minute. Okay, so if the energy causes the atom to get spreaded in opposite direction, then obviously this is more than enough to say that the characteristics of the atom matters more than the geometry of the reality itself. Okay, now this is why I had to make this diagram. to show that as you lower the geometry of the light, then what will happen, it will get more heated, and when it gets heated is going to cause the nearby atom to get more heated also, and then the air molecule are going to go in all different direction, and eventually the light will still spread, because according to my positive one dimension here, I talked about that the light, okay, light. So let's say this is a torch, and this torch is putting light here. Okay, the light is gonna go straight as long as possible until they meet an atomic source, and then either refraction happened, the light will not go straight, it will go down, or the light will get reflected in another location until straight to another location until another atom is there that will either reflect or cause refraction again. So this is exactly how I am saying that my model talks about reality a lot more than just using math. I mean using math of Euclid, CLI CLID Euclid is not bad, because I do not hate Euclid math. Euclid math is a classical intuition model of reality to make a lot of stuff like car, phone, phone, car, phone, or let's say plane or building, computer parts, computer dimension, mouse, keyboard, and many other things, like even making keys. Everything that is classical in sense need the Euclid model. So according to the Euclid model, if we say that the light is spreading in this direction because Euclid Euclid geometry, then this is the false. Okay, the reason the light is spreading in this way is, one of the reason is the LED. Okay, the LED uh, dimension will cause it to bend like this, but if I use some sort of concentrator that will basically concentrate light in one direction, even then the light will still bend a little bit, maybe not as much as before like this, but still a little bit bend in the light will happen, the inverse square law, because in this case this is due to entropy of the atom, entropy of the atom. Okay, and the entropy of the atom is the what characteristics of the atom. It is entropy is not the characteristics of the geometry. This is what I am saying. So this is why when I say that modern physics of the quantum mechanic is pure math and not actually experimental idea, they are gonna say no, the inverse square law of the light is happening because the reality is geometry. If the reality is not 3D, then where the become something like that. Like they say a lot of nonsense. Okay, what type of nonsense do they say? Like if you read their model uh, somewhere around here, I said they often say, what do the scientists often say? If the SCIEN scientist often often says, if the math was not good, then the reality would collapse, collapses. This is what the scientist says majority of the time. This is a nuclear option of the mainstream scientist debate. They use the consistency of reality as proof of their math as the fundamental. But according to the CKDM, second dimensional theory, logic you have developed, that argument is actually a logical fallacy. Okay, Here is the reason why detectable machine detectable physics is what quantum physics should be. The universe doesn't need a calculator. Okay, so when I often said about this is the topic that comes out, the electron shell. Why is the electron shell important? Electron shell is important because according to uh, what was his name, uh, Wolfgang Pauli, he created the uh, Pauli matrices. So Pauli matrices says that uh, something like the electron shell, like shell 1 will have 2 electron, shell 2 will have 8, and shell 3 will have about 18, and shell 4 will be uh, about what, 32 or something, 32 or something, 32, and then shell 5 will have about 50, but we have never detected 50. So this is where the Pauli matrices idea breaks down, and then they use another patch to say that this is due to some sort of shielding reason. Okay, they have never said, okay, then why is organism is what? Organism is an atom, and in the organism atom, organism electron configuration. So in the organism electron configuration, it goes something like this: 8, sorry, 2, 8, 18, 13, 2, 32, 18, 8. Why does it go down? It goes down because the reality of the atom is different than compared to the reality that Pauli matrices made. Okay. Now, about this one, in my topic of the third dimensional, which is quantum realignment, is the thing that I was have made here. Okay. So what did I say in my paper? The 3D, the Euclid 3D and the colorless king dimensional 3D is different. How? Euclid 3D is basically just a measurement idea of measuring object, and you can stack one object on top of another very easily, like you can place wood on top of wood. Okay, and more like that. But the the CKDM, the CKDM is not the same. So let's say, why is the CKDM not the same? It is a quantum effect. So let's say this is a 3D magnet, right? A 3D magnet, and this is normally uh, the N. This is N and this is S. But what will happen if I split here? What will happen if I split here? This is the part that I'm going to talk about, which I called it fermionic realignment. Okay, so fermionic realignment. Oh, here it is. Quantum realignment. So it is, I have written it fermionic realignment. So why fermionic realignment? Let's start with that. Okay. So what will happen here? If we go and look at this diagram, then here is the thing: north on the top and south at the bottom, right? Now I'm gonna do what? I'm gonna cut in this area here. Okay. Once I cut this, what will happen is this top north is still going to remain north, but this part which was south now has become north. So this alignment is not gonna go with this one. Rather, the new alignment is gonna happen. What? That is, which was south at the bottom, which has become north. What we need is to flip the magnet. So let's say this is not flipped. This is normally how it was. But after uh, I have cut here, okay, in this direction, what happened? The alignment has changed. Now this part which was south has become north, and this part which was north has become south, and same in this area also. So if we just cut it, it will now become something like this. Okay, so in this case what happened is the quantum field effect has caused a new realignment effect. So normally this is Euclid model, and you can stack a lot more of this 3D object on top of this Euclid model, okay, of this Euclid model. But in the CKDM, in the CKDM, such topic doesn't happen easily. If the magnet is broken, it must need to realign itself in order to get attracted to itself again. So in order for this magnet to get re-attracted itself, it must need to flip. Okay, I didn't do the flip animation because I was having hard time doing the flip animation, so I didn't do that. So what was north on the top and south at the bottom, after cutting it, it is now north in the bottom and the south on the two side. Okay, and after we separate them, this is how we can see that how the alignment itself has changed. So realignment, this I call this quantum realignment. So the CKDM is not just about a 3D model, which is basically a Euclid quantum model. Sorry, Euclid 3D model is basically this one. We can stack almost infinite amount of boxes on top of each other. But in the CKDM, the box, if it is extremely magnetic, if we break just one part of it, then what will happen is it will become magnetic. It will become opposite, and in order to get attached to each other again, it must now need to flip in opposite direction. Okay, in order to get attracted, and this is exactly what my model is showing here. So at the end of the day, what we can learn are the following few stuff. Okay, and this is the reason the earth and the time are similar is because the concept of time, which is flat looking, and if we can look at my model here again, we can see I have written here TNE, top, north, earth. So it is basically earth, but we are looking at from the top side of the earth, which is why I said here north. The north is, if you look at the map, is going to be shown as the top part of the earth, which is north. So top, north, earth. So from that point of perspective, if it is moving in a counterclockwise manner, okay, counterclockwise manner, it is moving, then as it moves, it is changing is what? It is changing is daytime, and it is moving full one rotation every 1 day while it is moving around the earth. So if we compare to the rotation time it takes to fully rotate around the earth, I think in that way this actual chart is going to be different of how different planet has different rotation speed. Maybe it will be a little bit different, but I didn't do the calculation because explaining the intuition is a lot more better than just doing the calculation. If we can get proper intuition out of this atomic characteristics behavior, then it is a lot more better. Because at the end of the day, if people say what does, how does, or how come the time and space model is happening, this is happening to this. Okay, one of the reason. Another reason is, the reason I say that space time model is not my favorite and was not favorite of Nikola Tesla also, is because space time model assume that space and time are bending to make the speed of light constant. But if we take another approach, that the speed of light is the same for all observer, is because maybe it was too fast. This is another projection, because the earth is 14th. Okay, I need to drink water. The circumference of the earth is about 14,000 kilometer. So the amount of distance we need to actually measure the effect of the speed of light is going to be about 300,000 kilometer, which we do not have. Okay, which we do not have. And because of this exact reason, we need to measure it with what? We need to measure it with a reflector. But reflector is made of what? Atom. And Michael A. Albertson, or Albert A. Michelson, whatever his name was, who measured the speed of light. What did he do? He took it to the mountain and measured it here with a rotating frame and mirrors. But this area, in this area, what is there? There is air molecule. Air molecule. And what do we know about air molecule? It has refraction index. Okay, hydrogen has a refraction index of 1.0000 something about 3, I think. Okay, and the more the refraction index is, the more the light will bend. So eventually light will go what? Light will go straight line until light is interacting with what? An atom here. Then it will either reflect or it will refract. Okay, so this is how it works. So uh, what does it mean? It means that uh, the positive 1D has a certain characteristics, which I will eventually call it line, but not just any line. It is going to be a quantum line. This is the CKDM. Okay, and another one is going to be 2D. What does this mean? It means that whatever is causing the reflection or the refraction are receiving what? Signal from A, atom A to atom B. So if we can see light or electron entering a medium, then the electron is basically entering an atom by signal. Okay, so electron is not a particle in my regard. Electron is basically the signal, the lowest amount of signal we can detect from another atom. Okay, it is what? A signal. And the last part is the third dimension is fermionic. Fermionic realignment. Okay, like how the magnet, when it breaks, the fermionic alignment changes, and now it must need to realign itself, which is why the bottom magnet must need to flip its position and then get attracted to the magnet with this one. So only then these two magnets can hold each other again, otherwise it is not going to happen. So this is the thing about the CKDM model. The CKDM model, the CKDM model is actually very easy to understand. It's actually very easy to understand, but we must need to make sure that if we are using math, we are going to use proper math, not a space time bending math. This is the only math that I do not want to use, because it came from Lorentz transformation, who wanted to make space and time bend, and because of this reason Einstein used this model and say relativity. Okay, if space and time is bending, then it is relativity. I say the characteristics of the atom is, if there are no atom in between to atom Z, if there are no atom in between this area, then the atom will send the signal. Okay, signal to atom Z instantly. So this is what I am saying. Okay, so what is this instantaneousness? It is another part of the atom, but I need to use this topic later, which is why I'm not going to say that this is part of the third dimension. No, this is another of the effect of the atom, but I will explain this instantaneousness in another dimensional topic, because if its characteristics of the atom are basically going to be different, then why put them all of together in the same place? That is not good, which is why I will say that the plus 3D is fermionic realignment. Okay, now goodbye, stay safe, and see you again next time, and hope you like my design to get better intuition of the reality. This is how physics actually work, because Michael Faraday was the people who doesn't knew about math, the Faraday math, the Faraday, the person who actually understood the electromagnetism, didn't even knew how to use the math, and yet from his idea electromagnetism came into existence, which uh, uh, what was his name, Maxwell, which then Maxwell then used the equation to say how the Faraday math actually works. So this is how it goes. Okay, so goodbye, stay safe, and see you again next time, and rewatch my all other older video to get more idea, or contact me on my Discord channel. Okay.